Hello and welcome to another video of mine. Today we're going to be talking about a very popular technique called the Brenizer Method. Now, in my quest of always trying new things, discovering new techniques, new methods of doing things, new locations, I wanted to test out the Brenizer Method for myself. But instead of using it on portraits, I wanted to use it for landscape photography. Now, essentially how this works is that you shoot a panorama like you normally would, a series of images by panning the camera left or right and then stitching them together in Photoshop or Lightroom. Instead, with this method, you're going to focus on a subject and keep all your camera settings locked in, the same values, not changing a thing, and then pan your camera left or right beside the subject and then stitch it all together. This will then create the same panoramic feel, but if you're shooting at a shallow depth of field, for example, using a very long lens, you get a beautiful shallow depth field panorama that looks almost like it was shot on medium format. Things you'll need for this technique to work properly is a decent camera, of course, a tripod, and a lens of around, I'd say, 85mm, and therefore you get this beautiful wide field of view at a very shallow depth of field, and it creates this really weird, almost ethereal looking photograph, which I love. Alright, so we're going to head into Lightroom now, and I've got my series of photos selected. It's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. First step of the process is to get your subject and frame it up in the center of your frame. Make sure you've got focus locked. If you want to use autofocus for this one, that's absolutely fine, but make sure you've got focus set, and once you've got focus set, switch your lens over to manual focus. That way you're sure that it's not going to jump focus and suddenly focus on something else. Take the first shot and then we switch over to manual focus, and then we pan the camera slightly in one direction. So as you can see here, that's my second shot, and I've slightly panned to the right. I've kept a small percentage of the previous frame in the second shot. So I aim to overlap at about 25% of the previous frame in each shot as I go along. Doing it this way ensures that whatever software you're using, whether it be Adobe Lightroom or Photoshop or any other third-party panoramic stitcher, is that the software is going to recognize overlapping pieces in the photo, and then it knows where to stitch the photograph. So if we progress on to the shots here, you can see that I've overlapped by about 25% or so, roughly speaking. And then once I've reached my end destination, I've gone back to my subject, center frame, shot once more. This is more as a safety precaution, just in case there are any issues when stitching the photographs together. But then once I've gone back to my starting position, I've then panned in the opposite direction, overlapping by roughly about 25%. And this way I know that everything's hopefully going to stitch well together. But as you can see, it's all out of focus because my main subject is in focus, the tree that we saw in the beginning. So once we've got our selection of images, I'm going to make sure that all selected down here, and then I'm going to right click and say photo merge and then panorama. It's creating a quick preview of it, and there we can see it. We can zoom in, we can make sure everything's stitched nicely together. It's just a low resolution preview. And then we've got our projection methods. Now, if you want a full rundown of the settings and the different types of projection methods available in the panoramic merge preview window, be sure to check out my previous tutorial on how to create a panorama in Photoshop. I do a full breakdown of the whole process, and I'll go in depth on all the details and all the equipment that you need to create a successful panorama. So be sure to check that out. For now, we're just going to skim over this. We're going to have a look at how to create the bokeh panorama. Once I'm happy with this sort of result, I'm going to then hit merge. Right, so now it's creating that panorama for me. And the great thing about this is actually that it's taking all the data from all the raw files that I've now stitched together, and it's creating a single DNG file. Now that's a digital negative raw file. If I now choose to make any color changes to that image or exposure changes to that DNG file, I can. It's still got all the original raw data inside of it from all the raw files from my camera. I can successfully then go and change anything I want to, color-wise, exposure-wise. Still got all the color data and exposure data embedded inside the file. Right, so there you go. We've got our panorama stitched together, and you can see where the name Bokeh Panorama comes in. If you shoot this at a very shallow depth of field, you get this beautiful out of focus areas and the single in focus area on our subject right there. Now we can take this method further and we can repeat this process to shoot above this strip and below the strip, therefore including more information as well. Of course, that dramatically increases your file size, so just be wary of that. It is going to take a long time to stitch together depending on the resolution of your camera and the system specs you've got. But once we've got this shot sorted, we can head over to our develop tab now and we can start to edit the image itself. Okay, so we are in the develop tab in Lightroom. I'm going to firstly change this over to Adobe Landscape as my color profile of choice. Temperature is fine for me there. Might just increase the contrast just slightly. Shadows. As you can see, my computer is lagging quite a bit with this because it is a massive file. So this altogether would be about 100 or so megapixel panorama. You can crop in a little bit if you need to. You can print this as big as you want to. It's really, it's a lovely method of really expanding your resolution if need be. So there you have it. That's the final result, and I'll pop some more images on screen for you to have a look at, different sort of examples of bokeh panoramas. But it's an interesting method to explore because it almost adds a bit of a painterly feel and a medium format look to your standard 35mm images. You can really use this method for all aspects of landscape photography. The only caveat I would say is when you've got anything moving in your subject, then it becomes a bit tricky. Anything like water, anything that wouldn't stitch well, moving plants, moving trees. In this instance, luckily there was no wind, so I didn't have to deal with anything moving or shifting out of place when stitching. But you have to be mindful of that, and just remember to always look at your subject and your surroundings. If anything moves, then it's gonna create weird artifacts in your image when stitching it together. To recap, all you'll need is a camera and a lens with a long-ish kind of focal length, anything from 85mm upwards, as well as a shallow depth of field, so f1.4, f2, 2.8, that sort of thing. It really helps emphasize that shallow depth of field look you're after. Of course, you'll need a sturdy tripod as well. Handheld might be a bit tricky, especially when you're doing landscape photography and using things like filters, for example. In this shot, I did use a 6-stop Nisi CPL, so I couldn't really go handheld as well, so I had to have it on a tripod. And the last thing you need to keep in mind is that you need consistency across the board. So you need to lock in your exposure settings, you need to lock in your zoom and your focus and your aperture to ensure that everything is consistent, everything is the same exposure, the same focus and the same zoom across the board. Otherwise, you're going to have certain frames that are brighter, darker, different focal plane, you name it. Keep everything locked in. Focus on your subject first, then move the camera around your subject in order to stitch those photos together. Alright, well, I hope you learned something new today. I hope this was useful. Of course, if you have any thoughts on this, any questions, pop it down in the comments below. If you want more tips on landscape photography and composition, be sure to download my free ebook, also in the link in the description below. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one.